start this recording then. So where'd we got to? July. So July, August, September. So July starts off, as we've just been exploring off camera, this card of burning your bridges, of having a review. So July, the general theme will be make sure that you're not cutting away things that you might want later. So again, there's a bit more planning, a bit more consideration, a bit more awareness as to the decisions you're making, the communications you're making, because obviously swords connected with intellect, logic, reason, education, thinking, communication. Maybe the messages you're sending out over, say July, may not be able to be undone. So be very cautious with that. Obviously, the opportunity, though, bizarrely enough, is to strike forth. To say what you mean, to do what you want, and so forth. So that's going to be an interesting balance.
It is, isn't it?
So we look at the key card then, and that's very, very different. So it's saying, remember that in relationship with other people, that a third thing is generated. Out of two comes a third.
Yeah.
So you are going to be reminded that it's not just you in relationship with children, in relationship with your partner, in relationship to friends, that there's a sort of other thing, the friendship, the relationship,
An
entity, yeah, and
emotional entity or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly, and that's the thing that you will need to be reminded of, probably, to make sure that then, if you are communicating with this in mind, and what can I say today to this person that will feed this lion, that will grow this thing? Oh, it'd be nice to say this, because that will add this to it. And quite often that's the way the key cards work. They sort of, they become like your monthly counsellor. They're saying, remember we said that when that happened you do this. Oh, okay, then I'll do this instead. And that would certainly temper these two things, I would think. Now that immediately moves on to August, where obviously we're now sort of late summer. The theme is, again, it's self-constraint. It's almost like maybe you won't have done too well with this, and you'll have backed yourself into a bit of a corner, and you will feel as if there's no way out of the situation that you're now in August. Having said that, obviously Pamela Colman Smith's wonderful depiction of this with the symbolism, she isn't surrounded. If you count the swords, there's 8 of them. You can see all of them. There's nothing in front of her, nothing behind her. So it is suggesting very much that it'll be bonds of your own making, which is again nice. And we come to this card here, the sort of relationship thing, echoing this here. So a nice pattern. Is that August, you won't quite be as constrained as you think. And so your reminder card, your key card, is choice. The Lovers in terms of not just relationship, but in terms of you're still free to choose, you can still make your own decisions. And of course the opportunity will be to draw deeply on your emotional response and to connect with your emotions. So I think that's going to be a very, very challenging month. But give you a lot of opportunity, because actually those are quite nice positive cards as most people would see them. But I think coupled with this and following on from this month, you're going to need to be reminded of growing this third, almost like maybe biting your tongue a little bit and just being patient and drawing on your emotional side, and just letting things be. No matter how unreasonable they seem. it will only seem unreasonable to you.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh no, woe is me. You know, no one understands. Everyone is doing something different to what we said, and so on. That's very much the nature of that card. Now, if we had two different cards here, I'd be advising you from the reading that, you know, well, you should sort that out and you should, make a stand and everything else. Whereas these cards are saying continue to grow and nurture and observe and be calm about it and not overextend yourself. So.
It's quite fascinating, actually, because that entity has grown into that entity, hasn't it?
Exactly, yeah. And as you go through the months, you'll see that happening. And again, this is one of the advantages of doing this particular spread in a very engaged way and having these key cards, that now you can see that in August when you start to look at it in July, because you'll forget about it for the next few months until you come to it. You'll know that that's ahead of you. And so that it gives you an entirely different skew on things as you work through the reading. That's why I call it an iterative spread. That it keeps
forward.
reading back into itself, which is a bit like life. So, in fact, Crowley said that the main task of the magician was to interpret their magical diary. That's all you have to do in life, is to make sense of your own story afterwards. So that's all we've got. September then, starting into the autumn, the theme, strutting your stuff, making yourself known, marketing, very practical. So for the first time we have something quite practical, material based. So by the time we get to September, things are going to need to be, more out there, more engaged in the world, more fixated on the finances and so forth. The opportunity is separation, is to actually take the opportunity to again separate out the dross. We've got quite a late card in the material world and quite an early card in the intellectual world, decision making. So it's suggesting that you will have to cut back and drop some things, but you won't quite be sure what they are. So the opportunity, the key to unlock that is, again, your own journey. It's what are your values, having looked back on the previous months, and what are you prepared now to set going anew? And that will dictate probably and help you decide what you're going to let go of. What decisions you're going to make, because again that's going to be a bit of a one-way street. This is quite an early card and quite ruthless and quite hard to do, which is, perhaps why it's depicted as
but you do have to let go of stuff, don't you?
Sorry?
You do have to let go of stuff.
I think you do, but sometimes it is difficult to know exactly what you're holding on to.
Well, exactly, that's the difficult bit, what you need to let go of.
Because quite often you're not sure until you've done you've done it. Here, the Page of Wands is advising almost like what's important to you, what used to be important to you, and what are you prepared to start from scratch again with.
Yeah, but that's interesting because that's there, just sort of in that month saying actually there's enough there in all sorts of ways. You've got enough resources to deal with that and to set you on to starting something new. Or different challenge or whatever.
Also, I mean, this card being quite late in the sequence, he's already been doing his work. So again, the advantage of doing this particular type of spread is that must have come from somewhere. So although it's not necessarily depicted in the previous months, by September you will have built up enough material, to be able to do things with.
Which will make it easier to let go of other things.
Exactly.
I think that's interesting.
Okay, I'm just going to take a photo of the third quarter.